Hi, I'm Saskia Nugent. Today, we're gonna do teriyaki chicken thigh skewers. Yeah. It's warm outside, and this is where you want to eat everything off of a skewer and over a salad. So, what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna take the chicken thighs I got from the open door. Chicken thighs. Now this is a pound. It's 1.38 pounds. The recipe I'm going to do today is marinade, chicken thighs, skewers, and then I'm going to bake them off in the oven. So the things you will need are about 1.25 pounds to 1.5 pounds of chicken thighs. If it's a little more or a little less, that's fine, because we're going to marinate them, so the marinade moves around, so you have a little flexibility there. The teriyaki part is going to be an orange, soy sauce, ginger marinade. That is going to be made up of 1/2 of an orange, a 1/4 cup of olive oil, a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, a tablespoon of garlic powder. If you don't have garlic powder, you can use fresh garlic. If you don't have either of those, it's really okay. And then we're going to do a tablespoon of chili flake. This kicks the heat and the spiciness up a little bit. Some people don't like that at all. Feel free to not use the chili flake if you're not into spicy. Another thing I got from the open door in my fresh veggie bag was a green bell pepper. I'm going to use this as well. So 1 bell pepper, and I'm going to cut this up and I'm going to skewer this with the chicken thighs. I have 10 wooden skewers. You can find these at the grocery store. If you don't have skewers or you can't find skewers, it does not matter, because you can do this without skewers. So we're going to start first by making the marinade. Then we're going to take the chicken thighs and we're going to put them into the marinade. We're going to transfer those to the refrigerator. You want to marinate something for at least 1/2 hour and up to 24 hours, anywhere in between. What's the difference? The amount of flavor that the meat soaks up from the marinade. 1/2 hour works great. 24 hours is ideal. It really just takes over the flavor of what's in the marinade. But again, it's up to you and the time you have. Don't stress about it. Another thing I have done is I've preheated my oven to 375. If you feel savvy on a grill and you want to try this recipe on a grill, go for it. I'm not going to do that. So I have my oven at 375, and I've also greased a non-stick cooking sheet. Cookie sheet, sheet pan, whatever you want to call it. Don't have one of those, you can also just use a cooking dish, like a Pyrex dish. That's going to work fine too. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the marinade. I'm going to take 1/2 an orange, which I've already cut in half, and I'm going to get a little crazy with this bad boy. What I have here, oh, another thing I have. So I have made up a funky little gadget for myself. I'm going to put my marinated chicken into a Ziploc bag. To help support it while I'm cooking, I've put it into a plastic container and folded it over the edge. That way I can throw stuff in here and it's not slopping around everywhere, and I'm not getting chicken juice and marinade everywhere while I'm trying to do what I need to do. So I suggest it, not necessary. You can also use just the plastic container. I'm using the Ziploc bag so that I don't have to try to scrub out the plastic container afterwards. It's really up to you. So I'm going to take my little gadget and I'm going to take my 1/2 an orange. And guess what we're going to do? Oh, we're going to tear the orange apart with our hands. And we want the peel in there too, by the way. So you're going to take the entire 1/2 orange and you're going to turn it kind of inside out while squishing at it and getting all that fresh orange juice into the bag. Well, and then also you're going to slowly tear apart the peel and you're going to add that right in. The peel of citrus contains some of the strongest flavor. Lemon zest, orange zest, when you hear that, that's the peel. And that has a much more concentrated flavor for the fruit. It's really a good idea to use it in the marinade. If it's too strong or you know you don't like it, you don't have to use that here. Once that's in the bag, I'm going to take a glass measuring cup, my Pyrex standby. Again, most people have these. If you don't have this, you don't have to worry about it. You can measure it in plastic measuring cups. You can measure it in a mason jar. But I'm going to start with 1/2 a cup of olive oil. And to this, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. This is low sodium. Feel free to use regular sodium if you want. I'm using the lower sodium because this does affect the amount of the salty flavor in the recipe. Some people have more sensitivity to salt. Some people have less. It's really a personal choice. So to this, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. Then right in, and I'm doing this all in the same measuring cup. This is why these are really nice, because I can see what I'm measuring on the side. To this, I'm gonna add a teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm gonna take the lid right off the top, stick my measuring spoon right in there, dump it in. Add a little bit of the chili flake. Now, I'm not adding any salt to this, and I'll tell you why. Because the soy sauce has a lot of salt in it already. So I really don't feel like this recipe needs any salt at all. I'm gonna stir this up just a little bit. Now, you're gonna pour it right into the bag with the orange and the orange peel. Set that aside. At this point, I'm going to add my chicken thighs. So I'm gonna put on rubber gloves. When you're handling raw meat, you wanna make sure that your hands are clean, and then you wanna make sure that you wash them immediately after. Any surfaces that are touched by raw meat, you also wanna make sure you sanitize. You just wanna make sure you don't have any of the raw meat juice hanging around. So we're gonna open up these chicken thighs. You can use a knife. I'm just gonna pull it right open. I'm gonna open them up just a little bit because they tend to stay folded. Oh, by the way, these are skinless, boneless chicken thighs. You are perfectly welcome to use skin on boneless or skin on with the bone. This will work just the same way. You'll just have to cut around the bone when you chop them up into smaller pieces for the skewers. So I'm gonna open them up as they go into the marinade bag. Now at this point, I'm gonna dispose of the container and my gloves. If you haven't used rubber gloves, please make sure that this is when you take the chance to wash your hands with soap and water. I'm gonna close up the bag. I'm gonna do it so that there's a lot of air held inside the bag, and I'm gonna shake it. We're gonna shake it, we're gonna shake it. Don't go too hard, the bag could explode, and then, well, it's just don't go too hard. Shake it around, shaking it around, shaking it, shake, shook, shuck. Okay, in the bag, in the container, putting this in the fridge for a half hour to 24 hours. I'll see it in a half hour to 24 hours. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the marinated chicken thighs and we're gonna cut it up into little bite-sized pieces to put on the skewer. Be back in a sec. At this point, I have my marinated chicken thighs in the bag, in the container. I also have my oven preheating to 375 and my greased sheet pan standing by. Before I do anything with the chicken, I'm going to take my pepper and I'm gonna break it down, fingers tucked, into bite-sized pieces. You want the size of the pepper chunks, you want the size of the pepper pieces to be about the same size as the cuts that you make of the chicken. This way it lines up on the skewer, looks pretty, and will cook at the same temperature at the same amount of time. So we're gonna cut it into large strips, and then we're gonna break, fingers tucked, we're gonna break those strips down into small little chunks, putting them back in the bowl. You wanna set them aside because you're gonna start to break down the chicken, and you just wanna keep them out of the way. Great. Now, we're gonna take the chicken, we're gonna open up the bag, and we're gonna take tongs, a fork, you can use your hands if you want, anything, but you're only gonna remove the chicken thighs. You're not gonna take out the orange or the juice or anything like that. You're gonna actually kind of shake them off a little bit to get any of that peel that might be stuck on there. And you're gonna place them on a machine washable plastic cutting board or something that will be easy to sanitize once you're done, because again, you're using raw meat. You're gonna put them flat on the board, Again, you're shaking off all this excess liquid. You're making sure that the orange peel is left behind in the bag. Now, at this point, you want to make sure you sanitize your skewers and you want to make sure you dispose of the marinade bag and you clean the plastic Tupperware container properly. You want to make sure that this is done with soap and water because, again, it's come in contact with raw meat. So at this point, I am going to break down the chicken very similar to the way I broke down the peppers. I'm going to tuck my finger. I'm going to cut it into strips first. And then I'm going to cut it into bite-sized pieces. This is going to be a little messy, so you just want to make sure that whatever surface you have it on, that you're not close to anything that isn't going to be cooked or you won't be able to wash off right away afterwards. Here we go. Done. I'm going to put my knife aside to be sanitized, and I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, at this point, we get to have a little bit of fun. So your oven is all the way preheated to 375. Make sure that it's preheated all the way once you start this step because it comes together really quickly and you want to just be able to pop it right in the oven. You don't want meat sitting around outside of refrigeration. So I'm going to grab my greased sheet pan. Again, Pyrex dish works great. I'm going to grab a skewer. I have 10 here, and you might need less. You might need 1 or 2 more. It's up to you. It depends on how many pieces you put on the skewer. I mentioned that if you don't have skewers, it doesn't matter, and I'm going to tell you why. You can take all of this as is and just spread it out on the sheet pan. Peppers, chicken. I might add just a tad of olive oil, like a half teaspoon, mix the peppers in if you don't skewer them, and then spread it together out on the sheet pan. And you don't even need the skewers. So don't sweat it if you don't have skewers. But I have skewers. I'm going to use the skewers. I'm going to alternate here. I'm going to do a piece of chicken thigh and a piece of pepper. Piece of chicken thigh. Piece of pepper. I think we might have to insert a little magic here to speed things up. Yay, we're done. Skewering is tricky at first, then you get the hang of it. So I'm going to take my skewers now that I've assembled, and I'm going to put these into an oven that I've preheated at 375, and I'm going to let them cook for 20 to 25 minutes. I'll see you in 25 minutes. So 25 minutes have passed, and I have taken my chicken skewers out of the oven, and I'm letting them cool down. They look so good, and they smell so good. You can serve these over a fresh salad. You can serve them as is. If you want a side of rice is always yummy. If you have any cornbread kicking around, you can always serve it with a side of cornbread. I'm going to just place them very carefully over a bed of greens that I've created here. If you want to add some salad dressing to it, go right ahead. You pick whatever your favorite is and just drizzle it over the top. A light, yummy summer meal that you will want to share with everyone you know. And here they are, dinner is served. These beauties are going to make you and your family really, really happy. That's another episode of Food Pantry Fine Dining. See you next time. I'm Saskia Nugent.